Hey, welcome everyone to a review of the Sennheiser 400S wired headphones. Now, if you want to see the written versions of the review, you can find a link to my website in the video description below. Now, wired headphones isn't for everybody, especially with everything being wireless nowadays, but if you're still interested, stick around. I will assure you that the audio quality out of the box is pretty impressive given the price tag. And that's the first thing I want to talk about, the price. Here in Canada, it's priced at $95, and the US is typically found at $69. As I mentioned earlier, these are wired-only headphones. And yes, the cable can be taken out of the headphones itself. You just kind of have to twist it and unlock it. It's kind of like a switch mechanism to ensure that you don't actually tug on it and take the cable out by accident, which is pretty good. It's not that easy to take out, which again is pretty good. The cable itself is measuring in a pretty good 55 inches, and the end of the cable is an L shape. In my experience, the cable does not tangle that easily. It's pretty easy to untangle, thankfully. And another thing to keep in mind is that if there's any tugs or snags on the cable itself, it does not crack or distort the audio. It always sounds pretty crystal clear. But if the cable does get ruined along with the microphone adapter, which I'll talk about shortly, you can buy an official replacement unit from Sennheiser directly. The only accessory included at the box is a soft traveler's pouch, and in most circumstances that doesn't make sense because it's soft. It wouldn't protect your investment. In this case it does though, because it helps you kind of organize your cable and put it onto a single bag along with the headphones. They're not too bad to look at. They have a very simplistic design, which is kind of expected at this price point. Nothing fancy, but they don't look ugly either, thankfully. And they're easily recognized as Sennheiser because the logos are present on both sides. An interesting note is that the 400S looks like the wired version of the Sennheiser 350BT, which is pure wireless, and also another version of the 450BT. The 450BT actually supports wireless and wired connectivity. Both those headphones have been reviewed. You can find links to those reviews in my YouTube channel. Going back to the 400S, it has a folding design, but it doesn't work well. You see, the problem is that the body does collapse in, it's folding. That's okay, that's meant to do that, right? Except the issue is that the ear cups don't fold in flat. So when you try to put them in, say, a laptop bag, it kind of bulges out a little bit. I've had the same problem with the 350BT. I'm not sure why Sennheiser designed it like that. It doesn't make any sense. You want them as flat as possible for easily traveling. When putting them on and wearing them, they're very comfortable. I can wear them for 3 hours straight with no problem. Ears don't get sweaty, warm, hot, irritated, nothing at all. Just pure comfort. Another thing to keep in mind is that I have tested these with non-prescription glasses. Still very comfortable, even at that circumstance. I can wear them with glasses for 2 hours straight, no issue. Now, there are a few reasons for that. One is that the headband flex is pretty generous. It's not too tight, it's just okay. Another reason helping that is because on the ear cups themselves, the cushioning that rests on your head are soft, but also very thick. The interior of the headband does have some padding, but I'll admit it's very minimal. However, it should be adequate for people that have no hair. Now, when it comes to the ear cups, they're a little narrow. They shouldn't discomfort you in most cases. Although if you do have larger ears, you'll notice that they kind of wrap around a little tight. Not too bad, not as bad as the 350BT, for example. When I reviewed those headphones, the ear cups are too tight. I have regular size ears, I guess, even though I'm a weirdo looking guy. But if you have larger ears and you're wearing the 350BT, I did mention that they're going to be too snug and not that comfortable. That won't be much of a concern with the 400S. With my ears, again, normal size ears, I guess, I don't know. They feel very comfortable in here. There's enough spacing to feel not too congested for my ears, if you will. They can breathe easily. So if you have larger ears, you won't have the same problem with the 350BT. Just something I wanted to mention. Okay, so in case you're wondering, when it comes to working out, I don't recommend them. However, I just want to mention that if you're purposely jerking your head, you know, that they don't move almost at all. So they're going to be great in that regard. They stay very stationary. However, the reason I don't recommend them is because they're over-the-ear headphones. So your ears will sweat like crazy when you're working out. That's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is that because it's a cable-based headphones, is that for most exercises, like say weight training, it's going to get in your way. It could get dangerous. But if you're doing cardio-based exercises like elliptical, stationary bike, whatever, it'll be just fine. There are no color options available. What you see is basically black, and that's pretty much it. The headphones themselves are weighing 217 grams, which is not too bad. And for this price, the body feels okay in terms of sturdiness. There's no concern about them breaking or cracking the plastic if you drop it a couple times, but beyond that, just be careful, of course. But they feel pretty good given the price tag. In case you're wondering, the manual itself specifically says to keep them dry, so it's automatically assumed that they're not water resistant and not dust resistant. In case you're wondering, Sennheiser does not sell official ear cup replacements, so if you rip the padding on the ear cup, you're not out of luck. You can find third-party resellers, it's just you can't get them from Sennheiser. To adjust the headband, it's done in notches, it's not a slider mechanism, and the ear cups can have a decent rotation of going up, down, forward, and back to accommodate most ears and head shapes. When it comes to resting on my neck, It's actually not too bad given the size of the ear cups. I can look left and right, not too bad. My chin just barely touches the framing of the ear cup. not annoying at all. Looking down, it's a bit of a tight. It kind of gets annoying and rubs against my chin, but that's not a big deal. But in case, you're wondering, then that's what happens. There's only a single button on the headphones to control, well, almost everything. That button is located on the cable itself. A single tap will either play or pause media or answer or hang up a call. Double pressing will go to the next track, triple press for the previous track, and a few other controls for media and phone calls. When connected to a smartphone, if you press and hold the button for 2 seconds, it'll activate your voice assistant. In my testing, I used it with Android and Google Assistant, and it worked, well, okay. Now, there's one thing I wanted to mention about the media controls itself for that single button control. Really weird. On multiple computers, Windows 10 and Windows 11, it doesn't do anything. Whether it's Spotify, YouTube, whatever, even VLC, it doesn't function at all. But when I tested on Android and an app like Spotify, for example, then it worked just fine. So your experience may vary. I'm not sure who's at fault here. Is it something to do with Sennheiser or the way Microsoft does some sort of compatibility with the button capability itself? I'm not sure. So I'll let that slide, but it's something I want to mention when you're using it with a Windows device. Now, this should be a given considering the price tag, and there's a single button for control, but I'm going to mention it anyway like I do with every review. There's no passive play pause. So basically, when you're listening to media with the headphones on, if you take the headphones off, passive play pause would automatically pause the content. We put the headphones back on, it would automatically resume. That function obviously is not built into these headphones. Now, there's no active noise cancelling on these headphones, but when it comes to passive noise cancelling, so just wearing them because they're over-the-ear headphones that cover up your ears, it's kind of what you expect. So if I'm in one room of the house, like say the dining room, and people are talking in the kitchen, it's not too far away, it's about 15 feet away, 20 feet away from me. If they're talking at normal volume, it sounds like muffles in the background with no audio playing, of course. If someone's speaking a little bit louder, if they're getting a bit more energetic, you can kind of make out what they're saying, just a bit muffled, but it can be barely understood. If you're in the same room with someone else and they're talking at normal volume, say 5 to 10 feet away, you can make out what they're saying, but then it's still muffled. It sounds like they're talking behind a door. So I just wanted to mention that in case you're curious about passive noise cancelling. With everything said so far, it shouldn't be surprising that there's no battery used for these headphones. Everything is powered by the cable. What the heck's the cable? Oh, here. With everything said so far, it shouldn't be surprised that these headphones don't use a battery. Everything is powered through by simply plugging in the cable to your device. Okay, so everything you're hearing right now is from the 400S microphone in a quiet environment. Then I'm going to switch over to replicating a noisy environment, and using the camera microphones you can see how bad it really is. Then switch over to the 400S microphone to compare and see if it can isolate a lot of the background noise. And then finally we're going to switch over to doing a wind sample test. Okay, so right now we're using the camera microphone. As you can hear, it's pretty bad. Now switch over to the 400S microphone to see if you can isolate a lot of background noise while I'm talking. What I'm going to do is stop talking for a few seconds so you can hear for yourself what it sounds like. Right now I have the fan about 5 feet away from me, and what I'm doing is turning the cable microphone around on purpose to see if it can pick up a lot of the wind noise or block it out. Now when it comes to audio quality, out of the box, as I mentioned earlier in this video near the beginning, surprisingly it does quite well. At this price point, and they're wired headphones, everyone's talking about wireless, I gotta say Sennheiser did a great job just taking them out of the box, plugging them in, start using it. It does rather well actually, surprisingly well, if you will. Now, at a flat profile, it does well. Everything's pretty well balanced, bass, mids, and highs. Great. Okay, but what if you're a bass enthusiast? You want to, amp it up. There's no app available. It doesn't communicate and work with the Sennheiser app on mobile devices. You have to use a third-party equalizer. Okay, and I did this with multiple equalizers. So really went through my testing. It's the weirdest thing, and I replicate it every time. If you want to increase the bass, you can. But what happens is that even if you increase it just a tiny bit, everything else suffers dramatically. Like the loss of quality on mids and highs is just horrendous, even though bass gets amped up. Almost similar situation with the mids is that when you increase the mids up, bass suffers greatly and so does the highs. And then when you increase the highs, well, they go up, but not too much other sound quality suffering for it. Your experience is best just at a flat profile, just leave it as it is out of the box. Now, in case you're curious, when I was testing these with my glasses for comfort, one thing I noticed is that when you're wearing glasses, because the frame has to kind of poke out, to rest on your ears, is that some of the bass leaks out just a tiny bit. Not the fault of Sennheiser. The bass leakage is just minimal. When it comes to mids and highs, there's hardly any noticeable loss of quality in that regard. At this price point, the performance is not bad, except it's hard to argue why would you want to get wired headphones. In some situations, you might have to just do it. That's okay. But if you're looking for something in a similar price tag at great quality wireless headphones, you might want to check out the Sony 520s, which are reviewed recently. Great pair of headphones. I'll put a link to that probably in the video description for your reference. Why wouldn't you gonna get those instead if you're looking for wireless? You might want to. If you're looking for wired, you still want to stick with these, but of course there are some weird nuances, like the folding design doesn't make sense. The third-party equalizer, just touching it will just destroy and wreck most of the sound. Anyway, you have all my information, and with that said, I hope you do make an informed decision if you want to buy these or not. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, check out my social links and website link in the video description. Hit the like button, it does help, subscribe, and thanks for watching.